David, you know that digital badges can encourage these new kinds of assessments. You want to talk about that and how this works at Richer Picture?
Sure. One of the things that we've noticed when students start to interact with digital portfolios, digital badges, is exactly what Lori's talking about. It takes the thing off the wall as just some abstract, and it puts it in front of them and says, you can earn a badge, like Lori was saying, as a collaborator, as a communicator, as a critical thinker. Well, now the onus is on the student to say, okay, I need to earn this badge. What do I have to do? It's not just something that's in the background of the classroom. It's something I need to actively pursue. And the most common thing they'll do is say, well, I'll go to the teacher. It's like, well, how do I demonstrate this? And this becomes a different kind of conversation suddenly. The teachers are needing to think about their curriculum in this way. They might be giving the same assessments that they have in the past, but like Larry's saying, sure, we've always done a group project, but let's talk about the nature of collaboration, not just the historical component or the math component or the subject area that we're discussing. But how did you interact with each other? Now, amazingly, we actually see this more with the youngest kids. They've long had in kindergarten, gets along well with others and things like that. But somewhere along the line, pretty soon after the kids start reading in first, second grade, we lose that, especially at the high school. It's all about the subject. Well, how you learn, we know how you learn is as important as what you learn. And that's one of when a student says, I need to demonstrate these different components, then it becomes a very different dynamic. It starts with the simple question, how do I earn this badge? And then it becomes a whole interesting conversation among faculty, with parents. And the interesting notion about, as we switch from digital portfolios to badges, is when people hear the word badge, the verb that comes along is I'm going to earn a badge. And so suddenly when they're thinking about it, it's like, it's not just going to be given to me. I'm going to have to do something. And what's interesting is that students have different approaches. Their best thing in collaboration might be, well, I was in the chorus in music, or I did this, Model UN, or there was this really cool woodshop project, whatever.
Right.
That is where it can be really exciting for the student to be able to say, this is how I did it.
Right. I think, and I would add to that a couple of things. One is what you were saying, that last part about, well, I demonstrated this in woodshop, or I demonstrated this on the football field. That's exactly what one of the study participants said, that as they were, and they're really doing a great job bringing their portrait to life. But it was one of the things that they noticed, that some of these competencies, and again, they're very similar if you look at most portraits, but some of them students could say, and sometimes even the adults, the faculty and educators would say, oh, well, students can develop that and then perhaps earn a badge or be credentialed or show mastery by doing all of these things that sit on the periphery of the classroom. And I think that's important. I think especially in comprehensive high schools, let's bring everything in and let's look at the opportunities students have to develop a multitude of skills, competencies, and behaviors through the entire portfolio, no pun intended, of work that they do, their extracurricular activities. But let's get inside that black box of instruction, curriculum, instruction, and assessment. And, David, when you were talking about students earning a badge and what do they need to do and the onus being on the student, I 100% agree that we want the student being the main reflector and owner of how they have lived out that competency and what that competency means to them and their growth. And we must, as the educators, redesign in many cases and reframe our approach to learning to allow students to develop those competencies. And that doesn't mean, I hear folks talk about, well, we've got these great CTE programs. That's how we'll do it. I'm talking about in your mathematics classroom, in English 1, in Algebra 2, or blowing that all up and having interdisciplinary classrooms. So thinking about your curriculum differently, your program of studies differently. But if a district or a school is believing in the portrait, is saying this is our North Star, it's both our North Star, it is our guiding vision, and it is the element that grounds us in all of our decision making, then all aspects of the school have to be designed in complete alignment to that portrait. And that means classroom instruction, that means assessment, that means curriculum, and it means, and we may not go into this today, but talking about policies such as grading, for example. I say this all the time, but you can't say that you're serious about having a portrait of a graduate and graduating creative thinkers and critical thinkers who are also collaborators with one another. And collaboration, the point of collaboration is synergy, the understanding that 2 or 3 or 4 of us working together can create something better than any one of us, despite our wonderful minds, that any one of us could. And I go back to my grad student. That's why we want him pushing on alternate viewpoints, because they had an obligation to work together as their best and highest selves for the point of the project or solution or innovation that they were coming up with. And then we have these grading systems that have a top 10 students, a valedictorian, a salutatorian, people who are distinguished by like 0.3 of a point in their GPA. I don't know how you can be a true collaborator trying to be creative and come up with innovative solutions to vexing problems while also trying to make sure that you're edging out your peer by 0.3 of a point for the gain of your transcript. There are solutions to that, multiple solutions, but we have to at least be honest with ourselves that many of our policies and many of our practices are in complete misalignment with our portrait.